Flax, the podcast. Twin Peaks special. In these special episodes, Flo and Max dive deep into the mysterious world of Twin Peaks. From the Black Lodge to damn good coffee. From giants and owls to analyses and interpretations. And even conversations with the original actors. This podcast is not what it seems.
Hello! It's us again, Max and
Flo.
The cherry pie and big box of chocolate bunnies from Flax, the podcast. Welcome to our latest episode of the Twin Peaks special. And if you can't believe it, it's part 4. But now right on to our latest topic. Twin Peaks has many occult motives under the surface. Today we will analyze and reveal 3 of them. The occult side of Twin Peaks is often directly related to the visible events of the series. Through them, the viewers and characters were even led directly there. The mysterious and unexplainable parts of life are determined less by magic and coincidence and more by cause and effect. These set wheels in motion long before they manifest in this world. Many motives in the work of David Lynch almost overflow with supernatural ideas, and we perceive them as obscure and unnamed. But it was through Mark Frost's work in Twin Peaks that a clarity emerged in otherwise difficult basic ideas. Frost's influences are basically easy to see. In an interview, Frost said, "The whole mythological side of Twin Peaks was really close to my heart, and I've always known the theosophical writers and the whole group around the Order of the Golden Dawn in the late 19th and early 20th century. W.B. Yeats, Madame Blavatsky, and the woman named Alice Bailey are very interesting writers." And now to the first motive.
The Black Lodge. It plays an important role in Twin Peaks, has become a tangible presence, a real apparition. Hawke calls it a place of dark forces, a significant occult concept. Black Lodges are still known from the book Psychic Self-Defense. The Black Lodge is an insidious force throughout the series. The existence of the Black Lodge is a significant occult concept. Black Lodges are still known from the book Psychic Self-Defense by Dion Fortune, in which they are discussed in detail in addition to Twin Peaks. Fortune was an occultist with ties to theosophy, and her writings are still important today. Theosophy is a religion established in the United States during the late 19th century. It was founded primarily by the Russian immigrant Helena Blavatsky and draws its teachings predominantly from Blavatsky's writings. Categorized by scholars of religion as both of new religious movement and as part of the occultist stream of Western esotericism, it draws upon both older European philosophies such as Neoplatonism and Asian religions such as Hinduism and Buddhism. The term lodge originated in Freemasonry. There it refers to the Great White Brotherhood, sometimes called the Great White Lodge, a group of ascended masters that acted as the mother lodge for all the smaller occult groups. That's right, that's exactly where I got the Black Lodge from, Frost said when asked about Fortune's book in the interview mentioned earlier. Fortune explains the Black Lodges as sinister centers of influence where black magic is practiced by unscrupulous individuals.
Everything the Black Lodge is, the White Lodge is not. The Black Lodge is the shadow self, the so-called White Lodge's counterpart, an antithesis of virtue and where benefit spirits are not. Alice Bailey and other theosophical writers frequently mention the Great White Brotherhood, composed of masters of the ancient wisdom, who help guide the spiritual progress of the human race. There may be disagreement as to whether its members are living or dead persons, but the belief in the existence of such a lodge is generally accepted among occultists. Hawke describes Cooper, an inhabitant of the Threshold, in the following passage. "My people believe that the White Lodge is a place where the spirits who rule over man and nature dwell. There is also a legend about a place called the Black Lodge. It is the shadow self of the White Lodge. The legend says that every spirit must pass through this place on the way to perfection. There you will meet your own shadow self. My people call it the Dweller of the Threshold, but it is said that if you meet the Black Lodge with imperfect courage, it will completely destroy your soul.
Confrontation with the dweller of the threshold is one of the final tests for the seeker on the verge of attaining spiritual maturity. And the battle can either liberate or destroy the aspirant's soul. And Mark Frost is an acknowledged student of the writings of Alice Bailey. This dweller is the sum total of all personality traits that have remained unconquered and must be finally overcome before initiation can take place. Motive 2. Doppelganger. In Twin Peaks, almost every main character had a shadowy doppelganger lurking somewhere around the corner. Laura, Leland, and Cooper's doppelgangers often carried cryptic messages that Cooper and the audience had to decipher. Viewed in this way, the doppelgangers seem to act as hidden elements of consciousness that the main characters had to understand. The motive of the doppelganger has appeared in painting and literature for centuries and is commonly described as a person's double or evil twin. However, upon closer examination, the doppelganger should not be viewed as an entity separate from oneself, but rather as a manifestation of the hidden side of one's personality. The fact that the shadow entity is often perceived as evil can be attributed either to the individual's ignorance of his or her dark side, or to the fact that he or she has long tried to hide that dark side from the public. If not confronted, a doppelganger may work ruthlessly to undermine or ruin the life one has built. At other times, the doppelganger may appear only briefly to warn of an upcoming significant event. To react properly, it is important to understand the origin and purpose of the appearance.
An example from Season 2. Lynch cleverly leads the viewer to believe that Maddie, with her dark hair and questionable appearance, might embody the other side of Laura. However, he soon reveals that Laura represents her own doppelganger, the sweet young girl who everyone in town knew led a dark and sordid secret life. Laura didn't need a physical doppelganger, as the criminal investigation into her murder shows us everything we need to know about her dark side. While Leland went reluctantly, Bob embraced what Friedrich Nietzsche called eternal recurrence. In Also sprach Zarathustra, Nietzsche wrote, "Everything goes, everything comes again, eternally the wheel of being turns."
Motive number 3. Electricity. Electricity is also a recurring theme in Lynch's work, including Twin Peaks, from slow pans along power lines to the sight of Cooper's clones manifesting from electrical outlets in Season 3, to the existence of the mysterious electrician above the convenience store. It's no surprise that great importance is placed on the concept of electricity. Lynch, when asked why he finds electricity so exciting, said,
"The fact that it controls us. I don't know where all people aren't fascinating with it. It makes beautiful sounds and it makes a lot of times some incredible lights. It runs many things in our world and it's beautiful. It's sometimes dangerous, but it's magical. It's such a power and it can make some beautiful images and sounds."
The spirits of the lodge and their world exist within electricity. They are born from it and travel through it. As personified entities, they represent the various positive and negative forces of electricity. The positive and negative charges of electricity can be represented as the black and white lodges. The places and entities are also able to exist in our dream world through electrical impulses. Therefore, everything and all dreams are connected. Man was never meant to harness this power, which is why Philip Jeffries was zapped back and forth through time until he was nothing but a confused vapor. One can observe how power lines and electricity seem to be used to transmit energy, evil, and even different versions of Cooper himself.
Here we can mention the concept of the astral body. The occult meaning of electricity in Twin Peaks can be explored with it. Many occultists believe that a person's astral body or etheric double is built up by the emotional energy that nurtures and sustains an individual. It is the astral body that is the essence of spirit sightings, and its etheric substance is closely linked to an electrical energy. Cooper's double from the socket is clearly an astral body. The evil energy that haunts the entire series is often associated with the transmission of electricity, perhaps due to the nuclear explosion we see in Twin Peaks Season 3. But more on that soon. Now it's time for our special guest for today. Our interview will transfer to the phone on the table by the red chair. She's finally married with Andy Brennan, has a Marlon Brando-like son, and maybe ate the chocolate bunnies. And she saved Sheriff Truman. Miss Kimmy Robertson, aka Lucy Brennan.
Hello, it's Kimmy Robertson.
Hello, Miss Robertson. Welcome to our podcast. We hope you're fine.
I am well. I can think straight. I have had in the past recent months COVID, and then just recently I had West Nile virus, and then after that I had some sort of bizarre flu, and I couldn't think, I couldn't hardly walk. It was kind of very, very strange. I'm better now, and I don't plan on getting anything else because I've had everything there is to get. All right.
We're happy that you feel better again. Okay, how did you react when David Lynch asked you to play the role of Lucy besides season 1 and 2 again after more than 25 years in season 3? Can you tell us a little bit more about how the conversation went, or were there even an interview?
Well, I screamed. Back then I used to scream when I'd get jobs, and then I started getting more and more into Florence Scovel Shinn and her writings, where you weren't supposed to react so giantly when something positive happened, because you were supposed to expect positive things and wonderful things happening in your life and your career. But back then, I hadn't quite learned that or mastered that. So I jumped up and down and screamed. I called my friend Brian and said I got the part, because I had gone into interview at Propaganda with David Lynch and Mark Frost, and I was given sides to read Audrey and Shelley sides, parts of the script, and they never asked me to audition. They just had me sit down and talk, and I had a bunch of questions I wanted to ask David Lynch because I had watched Blue Velvet in preparation for this meeting, because I figured I was going to meet him and never ever see him again. It never ever occurred to me that I would be working with him and knowing him for the rest of my life. So I had all these questions, and I don't remember the questions anymore. I know one was about the ear. They were esoteric, very spiritual questions, and I ended up talking about this trip I had just come back from to Hawaii, where my boyfriend at the time, Kelly Asbury, who just recently passed away, was driving me to Hama. We were driving to Hama, so we were on the road to Hama, and we stopped to look at a map or something, and there was no one anywhere. The road was completely empty, and all of a sudden, a man popped out of the bushes and had a pineapple in his hands, and he went, "Hey, want to buy a pineapple? It's only $5. And I went, "Oh, no, thanks." And he started yelling, and so finally I bought the pineapple, and he went back into the bushes, and I told David Lynch, have you ever noticed how if you take people and put them in paradise, they don't become Zen-like, they don't become meditative, they don't become spiritual or highly vibrating individuals, they become crazy. And he was nodding and smiling, yep. So, and I do remember the answers to my questions about the stuff I was asking about, like Blue Velvet. He always answered with, and still does answer with, "Well, what do you think?" Well, for the return, my mother was here. She lived here with me the last 6 months of her life, and so she was downstairs in her room taking a nap. So I went upstairs to take a nap too, and my phone rang. It was Sabrina Sutherland, and she said, "Kimmy, do you have a minute to talk to David Lynch? And I said, yes, I do, of course. And so he got on the phone and he was saying, Lucy, calls me Lucy, we're planning on bringing Twin Peaks back for our third season. And I was hoping, anyway, he went on to ask me if I would like to participate. And I was saying yes. And as the conversation was going, I didn't realize, when we were done, I went to hang up the phone. And I realized I had slid off the bed and somehow slid under the bed, and I was looking up at the bottom of the mattress when I had finished the conversation with David Lynch. So that just goes to show you what it's like when you talk with him. It's otherworldly, and you end up under the bed. So what it's like to work with David Lynch, wow. I noticed this right off the bat. When I was first working with him, he took me aside before we did our first scene together, which was the one about the black phone, not the brown phone. This was in the pilot. He said, now Lucy is very fastidious. She is not stupid. She's not dumb. She's very smart and has her finger on the button of everything that happens in Twin Peaks. And the reason she does that is to protect the sheriff, to help the sheriff to do his job. So knowing that, and every piece of information that you give to him is to help him do his job quicker, safer, and better. Knowing all that, the phone is ringing. You answered it. It's Pete Martell up at the mill. He has something very important to tell the sheriff, and you need to get that information to the sheriff as quickly as possible. But you recently redecorated the waiting room of the sheriff's station, so everything's in a different place. I need you to tell me, how would Lucy tell Sheriff Truman which phone to answer now that everything is slightly different? And there's even new paint. And that's when I started talking, and he goes, all right, aces, let's just shoot it. And then I said that whole thing about the black phone, not the brown. That's the only thing I ever sort of made up. But I tell people I did not make it up. He put it into my brain. He drew it out of my brain. We both reached up and got it out of the Akashic record together. I couldn't have done it by myself, and he maybe couldn't have had that same thing without me. And that's why he hires who he hires, because he can tell from meeting and talking with people whether or not they can both reach up into the Akashic record together and get the information needed to put on film.
What do you think about your character in Twin Peaks, The Return? You have your son Wally, you ate that chocolate bunny, are still together with Andy, and even shot evil Cooper. What makes your role so special?
I didn't know I was going to be shooting evil Cooper. And the day that I did that, I came onto the set and I saw David Lynch walking around with a gun in his hand. And he saw me arrive on the set, and he motioned me to stay right where I was. So I stopped right in my tracks, and he came over to me and he said, Lucy, I need you to hold this gun, act like you're shooting it. And he said, have you ever held a gun before? And I said, no, not really. He said, have you ever shot it? No, I guess you wouldn't have shot a gun, would you? And I said, no, I haven't. So I did my best impression of what police people do when they hold up a gun. And he said, that's good, that's good. So then we went to shoot it, and he said, okay, so as soon as I call action, you shoot the gun, and you'll be shooting Agent Cooper. And I went, what? He said, all right, everybody places an action. And I did that, and he walked over, and he had this look on his face of disappointment that I just can't describe. he came up to me and he said, Lucy, you just possibly shot and possibly killed Agent Cooper. Do you think that's how you would have acted if you did that? And I said, no. And he goes, all right, can you act like you just shot a person this time? And I said, yes, Mr. Lynch, I'm sorry. And he said, let's just do it right this time. Because he doesn't like to do more than one take, and then sometimes they make him do a second take. So the second time I did it right. And yeah, and then the chocolate bunny and Wally, well, what can I say? I mean, what can I say about Wally other than who wouldn't want that son? He's absolutely perfect. He's obviously a poet. He's got the gentleness of his father, Andy. He's got the brains of his mom, Lucy. He's driving around, riding in the countryside and all over the place on his motorcycle. Who wouldn't be proud of that kid? That day, before we shot that scene in the night, we had dinner outside, all of us. He was sitting, in between Harry and I. We talked for a little while, but I could tell that he was nervous, and he wasn't nervous, like scared. I think he was worried about all those lines, because that was a lot to say all at once. So, as we were sitting and eating, I said, you don't worry about the lines. They'll come back to you. He said, do you want me to go over them with you? And he said, no, I think I'm good. I hope. And he was so nice, such a nice person. And then when we did do that scene, and David Lynch sort of posed Harry and I the way we were standing, he started saying his lines and just kept going. And as he was going, Harry kept smiling, and I was smiling bigger and bigger. And I could feel everyone on the set smiling. So everyone was really proud of him and pulling for him to say all those lines, and how they're sort of incongruous. They don't come out exactly naturally when you read them. But he did such an amazing job. And then David Lynch said, okay, I think we've got it. And the DP went, no, wait. I think we need another one for coverage. I would really like another one. And David Lynch said, would you mind doing one more? And so they ended up doing one more, and then a half of one with the camera moved. So that was really amazing to be right there in the middle of that. And Wally is the best son anyone could ever have. But of course, since he's not living at home anymore, Lucy and Andy couldn't quite agree on what to do with his room, but they did get a new chair. That whole beige chair and red chair thing was all about that room, so that they could watch TV in it and do arts and crafts in Wally's old bedroom. And of course, eating the chocolate bunnies because Lucy had a tummy problem. First of all, the fact that she would have to tell anybody that A, she did something wrong, and B, that she had tummy trouble, that's just mortifying for Lucy. She's very professional, and she never would have wanted to have to say that out loud. And that was very emotional for her. She was crying, and David Lynch had asked me if I would mind crying, and I said, no, I don't mind at all. So that chocolate bunny thing was mortifying for Lucy. It really was. But she lived through it. And what makes your role so special? Gee whiz, I don't know. I think for me, what I love about Lucy is that she's honest, and loving, and she loves Andy, and she's kind to him, and then he's kind back, and that's just rare, and that's how you make a relationship work, I imagine. I don't know, I haven't really had one yet, right? Yet. There's still a possibility. But their relationship works because they want to please each other and they want each other to be happy. And that is what I think is special about Lucy.
Okay. Besides Twin Peaks, you have acted in a wide variety of films and classic TV series like Beyond Belief and Tales from the Crypt. And you were even a voice actress in The Simpsons. Which of your work was your personal favorite, or do you have a special anecdote about your work?
Well, I think my favorite thing I did perhaps was Beauty and the Beast, where I played Fifi, the feather duster. Oh, no, I have been burnt by you before. That's Fifi. That was one of my very favorite things because they just called me in. They said, Kimmy, can you go over to Disney this afternoon? They've got a little part they want you to read. So I didn't know I was working. I thought I was auditioning. So I got there and we did that in a theater, and they were doing a making of. So there was people everywhere, and a makeup woman, a makeup person, makeup and hair. She was there to help with the making of Beauty and the Beast video. And she happened to be from France. So I walked in, I'll backtrack a little, and they came out, let's see, who was it? Gary came out and said, here's your script, can you do a French accent, by the way? And I went, real French or Disney French? And he said, Disney French. And I said, yeah, I think. And he said, well, wait a second, we've got, I think her name was Marie. Marie here, our hair and makeup person, she's from France. Let me go get her and she can help coach you on any words that you might not know where to put the accent. So she did come and help me with a few words. Gosh, I don't remember what they were now. But that did help me a lot. It gave me, just like when I learned how to do an Irish accent, the person that was teaching me, because I had to do this on stage, told me that I is like I was born in Ireland. So it was more of a oi instead of I. And that really helped me in that time too. So this, whatever she told me, just really clicked with me. And I loved Fifi's character because she was spunky and she was in love with Lumiere, the candelabra. And I loved how there was a whole cartoon show. There were ice skating shows. I got a lot of work from that one thing. And I think my favorite part was when they did something called, I think it was Fifi and Lumiere's anniversary of their first date. And it was maybe a half an hour video. That was my favorite thing I ever did. I also enjoyed things like Beyond Belief, Tales from the Crypt, because I knew the people working on those shows. I did a show, gosh, so long ago, and I remember I had to go do it after I was finished working for the day on Twin Peaks, and it was with Ray Walston, and he was the Martian, on my favorite Martian when I was a kid growing up. Oh, it was something about a mouse. House of Mouse. I think that was it. Yes, it was live action, and there was a little mouse that talked, and I guess I had a bed and breakfast or something, and I think Ray Walston was the grandpa. That was my other favorite thing. And of course, when I did my very first movie, The Last American Virgin, I didn't want to be an actor. I was a dancer at that time. And I had just come back from tour all over Europe and the United States with Devo, the band Devo. I was a girlfriend, and the company I had just joined, American Folk Ballet, was going to Israel for a little tour, and I didn't want to go. I didn't want to fly anymore for a while. I think this was in somewhere around 1980, yes, because I met Devo in the late 70s. Okay, so they had me work in their office while they all went on tour, and I was answering phones. Now, the office wasn't just for American Folk Ballet. It was actually an office building for agents and lawyers and all kinds of people in the industry. And there was like an entrance hall, and I was the receptionist. And this big giant phone back then with 1 billion buttons. So I basically spent most of my time hanging up on people. And this one woman, Helen Barkin, kept laughing, and she came out and she said, "You should be an actor." And then she kept doing that. And she finally said, "Here, go to this address tonight after work and take some pictures. I need a headshot." So I did. Then she asked me to make up a resume for her of anything that I saw, and I did. And then she said, "Come into my office after you're done today. I want to talk to you." So I walked in, and she had a stack of manila envelopes in front of her, and they were all facing down. I don't know why, but she said, "Okay, now I need to ask you something. Is there anyone in this town you're related to?" "No, maybe Fred Flintstone," I said. She said, "Now, is there anybody that you know at all that could help you, that I could send one of your pictures and resume to?" "No," I said. Because what about a favor? Does anyone owe you a favor in this town? Now, what an odd thing to say, right? I said, "You know what? There is somebody that owes me a favor." So after I came back from tour with Devo did some videos. Whip It. They did a Whip It video and a Girl You Want video, and I helped with the Girl You Want video. I cast that. Most of those girls in that video are dancers, and dancers usually have long hair. At least they did then. And so they needed lots of girls with long hairs and put into a ponytail. So I also brought a lot of our sets from American Folk Ballet over for the Whip It video, like a stile, a split rail fence, a barrel, things like that. And John Thompson, who was the coordinator of those videos, said thank you for helping, and I officially owe you a favor. So I remembered all that, and I said to her, "Well, there's this man, John Thompson, who I helped with the Devo videos earlier this year, and he said he owes me a favor." Her eyes got really big. She picked up the top manila envelope and showed me the address. It said, "John Thompson, CO, Canon Films, 6464 Sunset Boulevard." So, cut to a few weeks later, I go in. I'm met at the elevator door by John Thompson. He said, "Kimmy, this is your favor. You coming in. I happened to see your picture. I told them to bring you in, but that's where the favor ends. The rest is up to you. I can't do anything for you from here." I said, "Wow, thanks, John. Cool." And I just figured, I said to him, "I don't want to be an actor anyway." And he said, "Why not?" And I said, "Because I don't want to wear patchouli oil, and I don't want to paint my fingernails black." Because where I went to college, you guys, everybody in the theater department wore patchouli oil, and the women had black nail polish. So, I know, very silly. He said, "Okay, well, I'm going to do my work now." So I went in and met with Boaz Davidson, the director, and he said, "You're hired." And I said, "I am?" He said, yes, you're hired. I said, cool. For what? Because I hadn't read anything. I hadn't auditioned. And he said, I don't know. I'm doing 3 movies, and I want you in one of them, whichever one I do first. So a few days later, it was a Saturday, I was over at ABC Prospect, which is where they do soap operas like General Hospital, and they do, what's that hospital show that's been on Grey's Anatomy? And they did back then Dick Clark's American Bandstand, and Devo was on that Saturday. So I was there waiting in the parking lot for my friend Beep, who is a dancer. They needed people to dance in the cages, and he was coming to help me do that. Dance in the cages up in the air to Devo. But this girl came first before my friend Beep got there. She was a friend of mine, Robin Antin, and I was talking to her. We danced together. We knew each other, dated the same guy. And she said, oh, my brother's going to be acting in a movie. Something about a sergeant. And I said, oh, I'm in that movie too. So Steve Antin, it wasn't called The Sergeant. It was called The Last American Virgin. And Steve Antin, her brother, was in that with me. So there, Robin did the Pussycat Dolls. That's what she is famous for.
Thank you so much for being our guest. It was a pleasure to meet you and a lovely interview. We wish you all the best. Stay healthy, and thank you again.
I wish you all the best in the world. And remember, David Lynch always says love fixes everything. So we must love. We must love even the weirdos that are trying to take over the planet and the universe and make them go away. We'll love them away. Okay, here's a kiss. Mwah!
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's it, folks. Yes, that's it from us for now. And we hear us again later this year. I'm Max. Goodbye to all of our listeners.
And I am Flo, and I do the same.
See you and
you.
hear you.
Bye.
Bye.